So first of all then, thank you very much for jumping on this live event with Tobermoor, our first Industry Insights event. We're going to take you through some of the important tools and resources and supporting functions around our retaining wall offering, which comes under the branding of Secura. Okay, so we're going to just start off by just explaining, first of all, who we are. I'm just going to let the slide catch up. So on the call today from Tobermoor is myself. I'm Alex Wolf. I'm the head of retaining walls. I lead our retaining wall team and division, and we cover all things from commercial sales, specification support, and we try and support the entire business as a specialist internal team for our retaining wall offering. So I am the head of retaining walls, and George is on the call as well. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yeah, I'm George. I'm the retaining wall specification manager for Tobermoor. So where Alex looks after everything retaining walls, I look after all of our design and technical. So engineering consultant, civil, structural, through to house building clients as well. I'm there for the technical side of what we do, which is good.
Perfect. Lead on, George.
Yeah, brilliant. So let me just move that slide on again, let it catch up. So the whole point of today is for us to give you guys an overview and an insight into how we can help you sort of speed up and simplify the process of getting retaining walls to site and getting sites moving. We know that retaining walls are a pain point for a lot of sites. They're not always needed, but not always wanted, but quite often needed on sites to make level ground and usable space for people, whether that be back gardens, plateaus for big industrial sheds, or even just widening a road. They are a requirement, but they can be difficult. And we're here to really make that process as simple and as efficient as possible, but also as cost effective as possible as well. Because what we find 9 out of 10 times is that we're having contractors come on to us and house builders come on to us around the tender stage where they have a reinforced concrete or a masonry package put together and it's gone out to tender and the site is running over budget. They didn't realize how expensive these large RC structures were going to cost. And we get approached to try and find a value engineered alternative. And that is what we're great at. We're great at being able to look at a site, find cost savings for people, but also just make sites work a lot of the time from a technical perspective as well. It's not just when sites are running over budget. People also come to us when sites are just not working from a technical standpoint. So perhaps there's really heavy clay with tree root influence, made ground, variable ground, poor bearing, all of these scenarios that typically for a sort of more traditional retaining solution causes problems, causes large foundations, onerous foundations, perhaps even piled foundations. Again, just adding to the cost. It's something that we can sort of swallow with our retaining wall system and simplify. What we want you guys to sort of look at today is that by working with Tobermoor, we're here to simplify the process, remove moving parts, the amount of procurable items that you need for sites, and just get through and tackle those common challenges that you face, whether it be cost, ground conditions, or potentially you just need some labor that can install something a little bit more simple. Not always people have brickies to spare. We can just work with laborers on site and really help speed up processes, get sites moving, which is brilliant. And all of this really starts with the design and technical side of things. Hopefully when the slide catches up, you'll see on the screen one of our preliminary design documents. That is where the entire process starts with Tobermoor. You come to us with levels designs, external works drawings, or even perhaps just a sketch of the levels that you have on site. We take that and we provide our experts technical input and knowledge to that site, and we produce these really comprehensive preliminary designs. It is that first point of call for what we do at Tobermoor for retaining walls. What I'll do is I'll share my screen and I will just run you guys through one quickly. So I'm just going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see that. Alex, perhaps let me know if you can see that. Okay.
It's popped off my screen, but perhaps it's there for other people. Maybe try one more time, George.
Yeah, that's all right. If it's popped up on your screen, then I imagine it is working. But if people can't see, just message in. I'm sure Neve will pop me a message if it doesn't work. But like I said, these sort of proposal documents, we refer to them as Tobermoor Secure Estimates, or TSEs, really are the first point of call. They provide anybody in technical or on the technical side of a scheme to understand how our system coordinates into a site, works with ground levels and works with certain sort of ground conditions. But it also helps everybody on the commercial side as well, whether you're a tendering contractor or a QS for an end client. It helps you understand. Neef has just told me that we can't see the document, which is not a good start. So let me try that again. I'll try and not get too ahead of me.
Well, it was never going to be 100% seamless. This is a first go, hey George. So
yeah,
not a problem. We'll work it out.
Let me try this one more time. So pull it over there. I'm going to try the entire screen instead.
George, just while you're doing that, Simon Bardwell's just dropped a message in to ask if we can help with estimates being sped up. Simon, you'll be pleased to know we're going to touch on that as a main point throughout this session for you.
Yeah, brilliant. Can people see that now? I think I can see it sharing. So
yeah, I can see that now, George. Yeah.
You can? Brilliant. Like I said, everybody on the technical side, but also the commercial side, really helps that process. Simon, this is a great place to start speeding up your estimates. We provide a full BOQ of all the material you need for our retaining wall system, whether that's material that we supply as a manufacturer or even the aggregates. So you can see it's really quite comprehensive. Bit of collateral at the front, which is nice. You can see our support timeline, which I'll touch on a little bit later. You'll see their support right from project conception all the way through to construction on site. You can see there's a page about the secure portal, which Alex will touch on to really help speed up those sort of tenders and estimates. We then like to give a brief or a scope of a site that we've looked at, talking about max retained heights, what sections we're including, which is quite nice. We then provide as many value engineering comments as we can. We really like to delve into how the levels are working on site, how we're coordinating with other structures to try and find additional savings for developers and then clients outside of just that retaining wall package, which is good. The assumptions that we make about the scheme down in this table below, and then also a couple of tables on those full quantifications. So first table being all the material that we supply as a manufacturer, and Alex will touch on how these plug into the tender feasibility calculators in a second. We also have a table for all of our aggregates, so whether that is our reinforced backfill, drainage stone, foundation material, or even our bulk excavation, we quantify all of that here for you, really speeding up that process. You'll see we even go as far as to calculate our embodied carbon. So if you're a site that is looking to be a little bit more sort of environmentally friendly and sustainability focused, you'll see that we have that in our forefront as well. We then provide as much as we can in sort of a design and technical realm. So you can see here long sections are elevations for the structures on this particular site, as well as sections that you can see geogrid up here, the max height of around the 1.8 meter mark, all the way down to gravity sections. You can see there's a lot of different reinforcement options that we have for our system that benefit sites in different ways. But that's something that we take off your shoulders and we tell you and we advise you on. So you can see everything in this document is us taking something off your shoulders, whether that be an estimator quantifying all the material or an engineer looking at trying to detail the structures. We even provide plan views showing how thick our walls are using some of our bespoke CAD and design tools that we have at our disposal, showing how far our geogrid extends and the block face, as well as many details that we can provide you as we physically can. So you can see here a load of nice details, as well as again a bit more information on the back, which I'm sure Alex will talk through as we go a little bit later, which is nice. But that is our preliminary design document, and you'll see just how good this is and how well it plugs into the portal that Alex will show you in a little bit, which is quite nice. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I'm going to try and pull back up the presentation. I have had a couple of comments come in, so let me have a chat on those before we jump in too far. Alex, can we see that presentation again?
Yeah, it's just firing up now. If we just go back to the correct page, it's worth just noting on those TSEs that those are a completely free of charge service from us. Now, we do review them on a site-by-site, job-by-job basis. Not every job necessarily requires a full-blown TSE, but we will be able to provide something to everybody. I'm going to touch on momentarily on our fast find tool. So it's potential that if it's a slightly smaller scheme, we might be able to provide quantities and cross sections rather than the full-blown package, but we are always able to provide some form of design or estimating support on your project. Kind of the point being that whenever you have a retaining wall requirement on site, think about Tobermoor, send in the inquiry either directly through the website and the email addresses, or through your account manager if you have a dedicated account manager, and we'll be able to facilitate something that will enable you to price and hopefully value engineer your solution on site. George, anything else to add on, touch on for the TSCs?
No, I think that's a good overview. It is, like I said, the first point of call for our retaining wall system, and it is a great place for people to just understand how our system coordinates in and how we start that pricing process. And you'll see just how well it plugs into everything a little bit later. But no, that's everything from me on that one, Alex. So I'll let you take back control, which is good.
Perfect. I am going to touch base then for everybody on our fast find tool, I believe is next. Just let that catch up. Yes, indeed. So our fast find tool is a library on our website of a very wide range of different cross sections for varying different scenarios. And it also gives the ability to download some 3D models for construction details. I'm going to take you through this element on our website now, because this is a fantastic way for you, if indeed speed is of the essence. And I can see Simon's dropped in a comment around speed and how quickly we can turn certain things around, or how they can turn things around. FastFind is a great way to yourself as the client to immediately be able to obtain some sections and an idea of how certain walls are going to be constructed. So if I just try and share my screen now momentarily. And
it worked by me sharing my full screen. There we go. I can see that.
Perfect. So at the moment, I'm just on our landing page for the Secura retaining wall product. First of all, before I do get into the FastFind tool, our website is full of fantastic content. There's lots of information, and you can even select what kind of stage you're at during the individual project, whether you're just at research stage, just trying to work out what type of solution you want, whether you are putting forward proposals, whether you're tendering, whether you're looking for certain engineering drawings, whether you're looking for after sales. All of the information is here, and you can select what kind of stage you're at, and we'll kind of point you in the right direction of rest of our content. But obviously, there's information on the product range available and some of our other software elements. We're going to touch on both FastFind and the portal today, and various other content. So first of all, the website is full of amazing information, so definitely make use of that when possible. Now, being specific on our FastFind tool, when you're on the website, on the support tab, just hit the drop-down box, and then underneath specification tools, you'll find the heading Secura FastFind. And if you just select that, that will open up the dedicated page for our library of content and collateral. So it's split into two halves. On the left-hand side is our FastFind library of cross sections. And it's relatively simple and straightforward. You require two pieces of information. The easiest will be the height of the retaining wall that you require. Simply select the height. In this case, I'm going to choose a 2.6 meter height. And the other piece of information you'll need to know to select the correct collection of sections is just the loading conditions, or effectively what's happening above the retaining wall. So your three options are standard, no vehicle, pedestrian only, flat crest at the top of the retaining structure. We have that down as a 2.5 kPa loading in this particular instance. We also have another no vehicle, pedestrian only, but this time with a 1 in 3 crest slope, which would increase the loading ever so slightly on the wall. And then we do have an option for a vehicle loading also. So in this instance, I'm just going to click the vehicle loading category. And then all you simply do is click find your indicative sections. And the website will whir away and have a little look in our library and see what sections are going to be most viable for you. In this particular instance, because of the height of the retaining wall, it has only returned sections for our Secura Grand product due to the height restrictions of Secura Light. What's great about the tool, though, is it's also identified the fact that there are both a geogrid and a concrete backfill installation methodology that could work in this scenario. So it's giving you both sections, one being a CVF, a concrete vehicle loaded backfill wall, and then we have the GVF, which is the geogrid vehicle loaded retaining wall. Now, all you have to do to obtain your sections, and it's again another added benefit for not just you as a contractor, but maybe you're an engineer or an architect, But when you download these sections, you get them in both PDF and you get them in a DWG format. So you can integrate them directly into external works drawings or architectural drawings or proposal documents. You do obtain both a PDF and a DWG version of both elements. And all you simply have to do is fill in some very basic information on the right-hand side, name, company, email address, etc. And they will be emailed straight into your inbox, no waiting, and you'll get those sections through no problem. Now, the second tool that I'm going to give you an idea of, because you've seen the sections on the TSE from George, the other half of the Fast Find tool is our niche details section. Okay, so niche details is a collection of 3D models that really help the contractor or architect or maybe engineer really identify how a certain construction detail would actually be physically built on site. One of the areas, and the model I'm going to show you momentarily, is around steps and staircases and how they can be integrated into Secura retaining walls, which are incredibly easy, very simple and very fast with Secura, but not always so obvious that it can even be done in the first instance. And so having this library of different niche details and models of how to build certain details is brilliant, okay? And so you can see the collection of different items that we have available. We have different corners for internal, external, including curves. We have various abutments, and then we have a collection of different step details. We also have fencing details, spine wall details. The library's on there, okay? So for everybody on this call, everybody watching this recording, do please go in there, have a little look. The added benefit of this tool is you can select multiple items. I'll select 2 or 3 here. Click Find Your Niche Details, and it operates in the same way that the sections side of the tool works, and it will collect and collate those 3 different details for you here on the left-hand side. And when you fill in your information, those will be emailed out to you. Now, I'm going to try and just drag a screen over. George, you'll be able to tell me if this appears in the window, if I need to share it again. I can already tell I need to share my screen again. So bear with me, and I will share my screen once more, and you'll see the type of 3D models that you will receive. So try that there.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because that's on the screen. So when you download the niche details from FastFind, this is the type of model.
It's just on again.
Yeah, I went full screen. I don't think it likes going full screen. We'll try one more time. There we go. So this is the type of model that you'll get. And all of those different items that you were able to select on there, whether it's different junctions, abutments, the fence details, all of these models have been created in very accurate, dimensionally correct blocks. So what you can see on here is exactly how an inset step would actually be constructed on your site. In fact, one of these images of a built wall is actually on the back of our TSE document. So you can see just how accurate and precise these models are. Okay, so I think realistically, from me, that's the biggest overview of FastFind. George, do you have anything to add or comment on from a FastFind tool perspective, please?
I'll probably just say, obviously, our FastFind sections do sort of have a max height limit on our website. So if you have something that is particularly an onerous structure or something that's very large, we do recommend you reach out to us that we can provide something a little bit more site specific and a little bit more dedicated to your site, because those larger structures do require a little bit more thought. But also, if you are looking at our 3D drawings and you're an architect, you want to incorporate those into your designs, we have a SketchUp warehouse that you can access those drawings on as well, and actually take those 3D models and incorporate them into your own designs, which is quite powerful and quite nice to be able to do. So yeah, that's everything. Let's jump onto the portal, Alex.
Okay, so don't worry about the presentation. I'll just share my screen once more from here, and we'll go into the portal. Now, the portal, when this fires up for you, in our opinion, is an incredibly powerful, beneficial resource for both a housing developer and or groundworks contractor to be able to make use of. Don't worry, this is my profile. I have it set up as Bellway momentarily just for this demonstration. Okay, I'm not in somebody else's profile. Okay, so the point of me leaving that logo on there is to show you that when you sign up to this portal, it will be a personalized portal. You can upload a logo of your own company so that when you log in, you are logging into your dedicated Tobermoor Secura portal, and it will have your company's branding and logo in the portal for you. And that then pulls through to some other documentation that I'll show you momentarily. Now, before I get onto the two core tools within this portal for you, I do just want to bring your attention to the fact that on the left-hand side, we have some quick links to some of our core pieces of content. Our YouTube channel is full of amazing videos, installation videos for secure, obviously time-lapse videos, but obviously there's lots of paving related elements on there as well. So the YouTube channel gives you lots of amazing visual and obviously video content there. Obviously a link to our website. We have the fast find tool that we've just taken you through. There is a slightly smaller scale estimating tool called Secure Create. That has a direct link on the portal as well. And we also have those 3D models we showed you earlier. We also have a direct link to the 3D warehouse on SketchUp, so you can go and download those models as George was touching on earlier. So lots of good content for you within the portal. And what we're going to start with right now is, from a developer or a main contractor perspective, is a feasibility estimator. Okay, so what this feasibility estimator does is, at the very beginnings of a project, it gives you the ability to very quickly and relatively accurately get a good understanding of what the package cost would be for a secure ground retaining wall system. Every project you've ever done will be listed down below, so you can come back into it and you can make adjustments and you can make further tweaks as time moves on. And I'm just going to start a brand spanking new one so you can see just how quick and how simple the feasibility estimator is if you are a developer or a main contractor. So in this instance, to start with, you just want to register what your project is. I'm just going to put Hawthorne Park. I'm going to say that we're in Scotland, for example, and then you'll just put in an address. And I'm just going to fill that with a bit of random information just so we can move on for this demonstration purpose. So once you've done that, the tool will ask how you have your quantity. There's two ways that you can input them. One is on a bulk square meterage of face area of these retaining wall structures. The other option, because we know that some estimators and QSs work in different ways, you also have the ability to select multiple different heights of retaining walls and tell it how many linear meters of each height that you have. Now, in this particular instance, George was showing a TSE earlier on, a demonstration. And what I'm going to do is actually use that TSE to input these numbers. So for example, if I just select the square meterage, I'm going to treat it all as a GeoGrid installation, but you can see straight away you get the option to break down your type of retaining walls from gravity or GeoGrid retaining walls. Okay, for now, just for ease of this demonstration, I'm going to select them all as GeoGrid, and there was 139.1 square meters of walling on the TSE that George showed. That's all you have to do. You simply click calculate my cost, and it will tell you that we believe that a retaining wall package of around 140 square meters is going to give you a cost point somewhere in the region of £48,000. Okay, now this is a relatively high level ballpark kind of tool to give you an understanding of where we think that price point should be, and there should obviously be some room for the package price to go up or down, as we're basing this on averages, and momentarily I'm going to show you where we get those numbers from, so you can see what the estimated total cost is. Depending on who you are, if there are any rebate agreements left in the business, it could also tell you what your additional discounts or rebate earnings could be. And if we return back to the dashboard, you can see that that particular project is back there at the top on Hawthorne Park. And I'm going to show you the other option just quickly. So if I come back into it and I go into the linear meterage, we will then come into here. Just let it catch up with me. And then we will add a row in this box down here and then select the various different heights. So we'll say that we've got a max retained height of 1.4 meters, and let's say we have 75 linear meters worth of work. So that's 105 square meters in this particular example. And you calculate my cost, and it's going to do exactly the same thing as previous, but it just enables you to put your quantities in a different fashion. And so by using the linear meterage calculator, this particular example is giving you a cost around £36,000. Okay, so that's a very lightweight estimator for the front end of a particular package, front end of a project, for you to get a quick understanding of what a modular, segmental, secure ground retaining wall package is going to cost. Now, I'm sure those that are on the call watching this, or maybe even watching the recording, are thinking, well, where do those numbers come from? Okay, all we've done is given you some square meterages. How do we come to those numbers? Okay. So how we get to those numbers is by utilizing some of the data on the back end of our tender calculator. Okay, now the tender calculator is more of the groundworks contractor or retaining wall installer focused tool. And it effectively enables the contractor to build their tender that they can submit to their client from our TSE, and they can do it very fast and very seamlessly and very accurately based on the data that we've provided. And so what I'm going to do, rather than building one from scratch, I'm going to show you one that already exists. Again, this is my profile, and everything in here is just demonstration purposes within here. I'm just going to pick something random down here, and you'll see that, again, we can start from where we were. So this was a network rail example that I was building for a job up in Scotland. And then from the contractor's perspective, it breaks everything down into finite detail. Okay, so again, in our TSE, and you'll receive two items. You'll get our TSE document, and you will get our material quotation from your account manager side by side. So you can input all the quantities of the components, and we try and cover off all of the potential components. So you have the blocks, the copings, corners, any potential double-sided end blocks, 90-degree coping kits or a geogrid, and of course you then input your individual costs in the right-hand column. Then you have the ability to input your installation labor. And that's very important to understand that this element is simply the laying of the Securagram block and the installation of the Secura coping. All of the aggregate backfilling and compaction comes later on in this tool. And so that's why we've labeled it lay of Secura blocks, to be a little bit more specific and give you better guidance. Also, please be aware that these numbers that are in here are just me playing around with numbers just for demonstration purposes, okay? The second tab then enables you to put in all of the aggregate quantities. Now, if you remember when George was giving you the overview of the TSE, this is something that we quantify for you as well through that preliminary process, okay? So in this particular example, or from the TSE that George was showing you earlier on, there was, for example, 11.1 cubic meters of the leveling pad, which could be concrete or granular aggregates. There was 103 cubic meters of reinforced fill. Okay, so we supply you with all of that information, again, aiming to improve your accuracy, but more importantly, to take time off of your desk from having to estimate and work out all of this content. We are helping you speed up that process and giving you this format, this portal, to enable you to price these projects really quickly and really accurately. It's also worth noting, while we're on this tab here, that those groundworks contractors that are utilizing this portal, those that have worked closely with us, we can actually help you value engineer some of these aggregate components as well. Some of the aggregate specifications for Secura Grand, for example, the reinforced fill, the specification, the specific specification is a 6I material, okay, which is just a grading for aggregates. But actually 6I is quite a wide grading, and we can work with contractors to help value engineer aggregates and different backfill materials to, again, hopefully reduce the cost point for you as the contractor, which can do one of two things: help you pass on greater savings or increase margins if we're trying to value engineer on the backside of these projects. So on this second tab then, we've got the aggregates, which we're providing you all the quantities. You as a contractor, of course, would know what you're paying for: concrete, 10 mil drainage stone, type 1, etc. So you input all that cost. On the third tab then, for the earthworks, this is where the tool gets to be a little bit clever and again reduce your workload even further, because what it's going to do now is help you work out what your bulk excavation quantities are going to be over the overall project, okay? So what it wants to know is what percentage of your project or an individual wall, because obviously you can input your information in this portal on a wall-by-wall basis, as many of our estimators do, or you could do the whole project all in one go. It's worth noting that when you're putting in a project for the very first time, that the tool will default to 50%. A lot of the projects we work on are relatively large housing and residential developments with multiple walls across the site, and generally the cut and fill percentage would average out around 50%. So the tool does default to 50, but I'm going to show you momentarily what changes occur in the tool when we start playing around with that cut percentage. So just for a little bit of guidance, we do give you this graphic so you can see exactly what we mean by cut. Is it, in essence, we are lowering the level or decreasing the topography level. 100% fill would be doing exactly the opposite. We're increasing the level and adding material into the site. I'll say 50% is somewhere in between. We're digging out some material, but we're also raising the level beyond where the existing profile was. So there's that guidance in there just to help contractors understand exactly what we're wanting them to do here. Now, the table below, this is all of those excavation quantities. I just want to draw your attention to the top line, which is the excavation for the reinforced zone. Now, at the moment, it's showing a quantity. This is an automated number. This isn't me putting a number in. It's showing you that the project, with all the content that's been added to the tool so far, is going to require 248.4 cubic meters of bulk excavation to facilitate the installation of our retaining wall. That's based on 100% cut. Now, if I change that 100% to 25%, you can see the bulk excavation quantity drops to 62.1 cubic meters. The tool is working out for you how much bulk excavation is required on the project. Now, of course, some groundworks contractors may put their cut and fill packages in a separate item within their bill of quants. And if that's the case, then you can just put 0 in this box, because we want to account for no bulk excavation whatsoever. So the tool does enable you to not include for the excavation, but ultimately it also gives you the ability to include for it as well. So how you want to use it, the tool is relatively flexible in that sense. So in this instance, I'm going to put it in as 50%, and you can see that the excavation for the reinforced zone has increased to 124.2 cubic meters. Okay, so that's what the cut and fill box is doing. It's removing the need for you as the estimator, you as the contractor, to have to work out what your bulk excavation quantities are going to be. We've worked out all the algorithms and the maths in the background, and this tool just needs to know what your cut and fill profile is going to be across the site. Okay. Now, in the excavation area, we account for 3 items in 2 areas. So we account for the bulk excavation itself. We account for the moving of the material, carting it to a stockpile somewhere on site, and also then the compaction of that area that we've just excavated out. With all things structural and geotechnical like this, we want to make sure we have a nice, flat, stable base. So we want to allow for the compacting of that zone once it's been excavated out. We allow for the same 3 components for your trench, for your foundation installation. So we have the excavate for the trench, carting, and compaction. So we have those 3 items over those 2 zones. And we also, through the middle, we have this excavate for retained fill. It's worth noting that the retained fill for us is simply your safe working angle. Okay, beyond the geogrid zone, you may not be able to achieve a 7-degree near vertical face from a cut bank. We have a lot of clay ground conditions in the UK. So 9 times out of 10, that safe working angle has to be battered back a bit shallower to allow for the construction of these structures. And that is allowing you to input that figure from the earlier table of how much volume we think is going to be required to excavate out for a safe working angle of repose. So again, everything's being taken into account in this tool for you. We've tried to account for everything from leveling pad up that you require to build these structures. Now, across these 7 items, you actually only require 3 cost points. We need the unit cost for bulk excavation, the unit cost for moving the material around on site, and the unit cost for compacting. So we're dealing with 7 items with 3 costs because we can duplicate the numbers below. And you can see if I change the bulk excavation to £7.50, it's updated the 2 items down below. So we're trying to make it as slick and automated as we possibly can. Moving on down on this page then for the earthworks section, we then need to think about the earthworks element to reinstate our backfill. So now we're starting to put the wall in place, bringing in our 6-iron material, compacting it in layers, installing the geogrid, etc. Now, before we do that in the ground, we do need to allow for a 6-inch perforated land drain. Of course, we will be quantifying that in the TSE because we tell you the overall length of the project. The TSE George was showing you earlier on had 92.4 linear meters, for example. So we could update that to the given number, but of course it's taken from earlier in the table. More importantly, though, we include now for the installation and compaction of both the reinforced and retained fill. So for me, I logically had just added these 3 items together before I made the change, obviously, because to me, we're doing those 3 items in reverse. We're bringing material to the site, placing it and compacting it. So I normally have that set so that it matches the 3 numbers combined up the top. But again, it's down to the contractor to price this how they see fit. It's not for us to say how things be priced. It's for us to provide you a template and a format to be able to put all the maths together. The tool also gives you the ability to account for muck away. We appreciate that on sites that have a requirement for retaining walls very often have either an excess or a deficit of Site 1 material that may require some disposal from site. So it enables you to include in the package the volume for muck away. Now, you can see that the tool will limit you to the maximum amount of muck away that is actually generated from the project. And it's worked that out again from all of the information we've input earlier on in the tool. So it already is telling us the maximum amount of muckaway that's being generated from this project is 130.75 cubic meters. Now you can see I made some adjustments. So previously we had it set to 261. Now if I try to move on, it'll tell me that we're trying to allow for too much muckaway on this project, and I need to reduce this number to move on. Okay, so I'll reduce that down within the allowable quantities to move on to the fourth and final stage of the tender calculator. Now, the fourth and final stage is all of the final kind of additional components. Some contractors do pay for their own design fees. If you do, then you have the ability to put your design fee in here. We will quantify for you the fence post sockets, the coping adhesive, and any geotextile membranes. We would quantify those in our TSE. Of course, the TSE document, if you obtain one of those, will have all of this content if it's required. And it also gives you as a contractor the ability to account for any edge protection or scaffolding if it is in your package. It very rarely is, but again, we want to give our customers the ability to cover all bases. That's it, those 4 steps. And I'm obviously taking some time to explain it all to you, but I can assure you, if you're doing this for the very first time and inputting all of this information right from the word go, it really is a 5 or 6 minute process, and that's it, okay? So within 5 or 6 minutes, you can get to the bottom of the tool, you hit calculate my cost. I'm going to do straight away, or in a few moments, is tell you that your estimated total cost for that package will be £78,202.15. So obviously it's just my demonstration model. It's worth noting that when it loads up for the very first time, the profit margin box is blank. Okay, it's blank. We have no idea and no bearing on what people's margins are. That is for the contractor, obviously, to decide. But the important part is, once again, it's a dynamically changing box. So at the moment, I have that put in at 25%, which means this contractor, or me, if I was doing this package, I'd be selling this retaining wall package at £97,852.69, and I'd be earning just under £20,000 worth of profit on this package. Now, as I said, this is a dynamically changing box. So if I reduce that to 15%, you can see that our sell price is now £90,000, just over £90,000, making a little under £12,000. So it enables you as the groundworks contractor to very quickly and very accurately price up these packages and understand the price point for Secure Ground versus a traditional retaining wall solutions. George mentioned earlier on things like masonry, RC walls, and maybe some other types of solutions out in the market. This tool enables you effectively from one email to Tobermore with your external work drawings or site plan or sketch, as George was mentioning earlier on. You send in one email and you can receive some form of design collateral, a material quotation. You can spend 5 minutes on our portal and the whole thing can be priced up very precisely, very accurately, very quickly. Okay. Once you've got to this point, it gives you a couple of extra options. It enables you to download a cost breakdown, which is a PDF bill of quants, and it also enables you to download a client version, which just strips out some of the more sensitive content. So if you wanted to, as a contractor, to submit that to your client, you could do that also. I'm not going to click the button because, as I already know, it's not going to enable me to show you it anyway, but it gives you a very clean, professional-looking bill of quants. In fact, I might just give it one go just to see if it pops up. I think it'd be worth showing. Oh, it does. That's great. Okay, so this is what it would show you. Now, obviously, Bellware's a house builder, so they're not necessarily going to be using this side of the tool, of course. But this is what you would get. So if this had a different contractor's logo on it, this is what you're going to be seeing with all of your project information and everything we've just input very clearly laid out in a table. And then at the bottom, it simply just tells you what your cost point on the project is. And if we download the client version, just so I do give you a full overview now that I know you can see it, is the client version with some of the information stripped out of it, just giving you the quantities. And of course, at the bottom, it will tell you what the ultimate cost is, okay, to sell the package. So just finally, and it's a very small item, but those customers that maybe want to take our TSE and submit it as a total package, you actually have the ability to download the the bill of quants in landscape format. And the only reason we enable you to do that is because our TSE document is produced in landscape format also. So it enables you to take this document and tie it into the back of our TSE document, and you can submit it to your client as an alternative or preferred retaining wall solution for you and your client to consider. So that is realistically the overview of the portal and its content. Now, just before I move on and let George go on to the next item, I just want to touch on a case study, a recent example where we've gone through this whole process that we've shown you today with a national house builder. Okay, so we had a particular project where we worked very closely with a national house builder, and we produced them a TSE, and I think we maybe even revised it once or twice to really refine down the exact collection of walls that they wanted on the site. They then went out to tender, and we were contacted by various tendering contractors that then whittled it down to their preferred contractor, who we then made contact with, gave them access to the tender calculator, which is fully accessible on our website. And they utilized our tender calculator and was able to input all of the information that we provided. We were also able to value engineer backfill aggregates to further increase contractor margins and pass on developer savings. And on this particular project, there was an average retained height on the overall scheme of around 930 millimeters. So from a Tobermoor perspective, it's a relatively run-of-the-mill average kind of project. On an average, the retained height around 900 mil. I'm sure you can appreciate we do get involved in some very large structures. So that was a relatively simple scheme for us, and the contractor was able to pass on to the developer over 24% cost savings on a masonry retaining wall package. Okay, so if we can achieve that and deliver that against masonry on something as low level as 900 mil, then those savings should only get better the taller and the higher we go. Okay, so the point of that is just to kind of wrap it up into and to sort of summarize and say that all of the content that we've shown you today, from the TSE to the fast find tool to the niche detail models to our pricing portal, everything is geared towards giving you not just the best possible solution from an engineering perspective and a performance basis, but also giving you the most commercially viable solution, whether that be to increase margins from a contractor or savings for a developer. George?
No, brilliant. I think that was a really comprehensive overview of what that portal does and just how powerful it is, but also good to see where those figures come from as well for the feasibility calculator. It just goes to show that we're tying everything together and making a nice seamless process, which is brilliant. Now, I know we have had a few people message in with some comments prior to this, some questions, so probably want to take some time to go through some questions. I know there's lots of people who've joined us, so if people do have questions, by all means, message them into the chat. I'm sure we'll pick up on them once we've gone through a couple that have already come in. I'll probably just bring our presentation back up as well, just to get to the next slide through this. There you go. Q&A with all of us. So I'll probably field some technical questions, and Alex, I'm sure you want to go through a lot of the commercial ones. So as we've just been on the portal, I'll start with a cost-based one. So let me just have a look. So Alex, somebody asked, do we require any specialist skills or expensive or large plant to be used for installing our structures? That obviously goes into the cost point for this.
Yeah, great question. The answer simply is no. You don't require anything specialist, whether it be labor or plant. It's worth noting that pretty much anybody can build these structures. Tobermoor, however, do offer some support. We have a great network of specialist contractors, whether they be full supply and install, whether they be labor and plant. So if contractors wish to sub out that element of it, we can certainly facilitate that for you. But if a contractor also wishes to install it themselves, then what we can also do is come to site and deliver a toolbox talk. And that's another element that's on our website that contractors can go and have a look, and we can come to site, give you a full overview of the installation methodology. If you have product on site, I don't even mind doing you a quick demonstration of how the blocks all stack together. In terms of plant, no, absolutely not. Just a standard excavator for moving material around, of course. You don't require any special plant. What I would say is that the industry is probably going to move, as we're looking at global trends, these modular retaining walls are probably going to move slightly towards machine lay, machine install, and that's not for any other reason than people wanting to increase their daily outputs and maybe reduce some of their health and safety aspects. You absolutely don't need it. It's not a requirement, but it's something that some of our specialist contractors are finding efficiencies with. So to answer the question simply, no, but Tobermoor can help facilitate some of those items if you need or want them.
Brilliant. And then probably another one just on cost savings then. Somebody asked, how is it that we can speed up construction times? If is Secure Ground faster than a traditional solution, and if so, by how much?
Great, yeah. So how do we? Well, in all honesty, it's just obviously inbuilt into the general makeup of the product. This being a modular dry laid block system, you require no mortar in the joint, so you have no delays. There's no restrictions of how tall you can go in a day. It simply just comes down to speed of the individual installer. And to answer the second part of that, versus a masonry, or I'm going to choose an RC structure because we tend to get involved in some larger structures, myself and George. A geogrid retaining wall, sort of 2 meters high, versus a reinforced concrete structure, it would take you about 20% of the time to construct a secure ground retaining wall than it would a reinforced concrete structure, and potentially even more once you then faced it with brickwork. A secure ground modular reinforced earth structure is significantly faster than those masonry traditional solutions. Even if we go on the smaller scale, if we look at those gravity walls that are 1 meter and under that don't require any geogrid or concrete or reinforcement whatsoever, again, because you can typically install with a granular leveling pad, those gravity walls are incredibly fast to install in comparison to those masonry structures that can be quite wide at the base and require a lot of block work and brickwork to facilitate it. And obviously that comes with time and energy. So against an RC, we should be around 1/5 of the time to install, but we should be much faster than traditional masonry, just generally speaking, George.
Brilliant. I'll probably take a couple of design-based ones then. A great one was just when is the best time for people to reach out about their projects and to get design advice? And the bad answer is at any point, no matter when you are within your project lifecycle, we can provide support and valuable support at that. But the better answer is I'm going to say that you should get in touch as soon as possible. When you're looking at feasibility levels, perhaps you haven't even bought a site yet, you're a developer who's thinking about buying some land, we can provide some really detailed insights into what that retaining wall package is going to cost for you and how our system can help value engineer that site. We'll even look at playing with levels with you and seeing if we can value engineer the whole scheme, not just some of the retaining walls. We provide more value than just that retaining wall package. So I like to say as early as possible, but if you are working to tight timeframes or need something turning around quite quickly, we're known to be able to get some stuff to site quickly and get sites moving and get program back on where it should be. And then another one that I actually quite like on the sort of design and technical side of things is just we talked about obviously true influence and where we can sort of help with poor ground conditions on site, and it's just how that works. And it's simply the fact that we are a flexible retaining wall system. So where we do have perhaps a bit of movement in the ground from some heave, or perhaps there's going to be some additional settlement in the ground, we are a fully flexible retaining wall system. So our blocks can take a little bit of articulation. We don't need movement joints. And our system can just keep with a very, very simple strip footing and remove the need for really costly or large foundations, which is really, really quite good. On the other side, though, if you do require a rigid structure, we can also play with some of the engineering of our system to make the structure rigid as well. We're not as flexible as a Gabion, so you're not going to see loads of settlement with the blocks and look terrible, but we can just fix some of those more difficult ground conditions, which is quite nice. A couple more of these points, I think Alex, you actually already touched on. You've touched on on-site support, so that question's been answered. We come to site, we can provide on-site construction support. And some of the others, I think we've already touched on a lot with the preliminary designs. We've talked about 3D drawings we have available from our Fast Find, but also our Sketch warehouse. And then also what size of projects we get involved with. We've already talked about that. You've talked about 900 mil lower height structures, but we get involved in some really large assets on major highways and infrastructure work, all the way through to somebody's residential garden where perhaps they've had a failed timber sleeper wall and they just want to replace a little bit of a patio. We get involved with everything from one extreme to the other, which is quite nice. So that's a couple of questions that we've had come in. I know Robbie's asked how long have we had the Secure portal, and I know we've just made that available on our website to everybody now, haven't we, Alex?
Yeah, so the Secure portal is something a resource that we had for a little while, and we had it as a tool for a certain customer base, just simply so that we can take it through a nice, robust trial period to make sure it was doing and delivering exactly what we thought and wanted it to do. And we made a few tweaks, of course, along the way to make it as impactful as possible. And as George said, it's now there on our website for anybody to register and gain access to. There's in the same place I found Fast Find in the support drop-down box, there's an element there for the secure portal, and you simply register. And that's open to anyone and everybody. So anybody on this live event now or watching the recording, head to the website and you can gain access to the portal and make use of the fantastic pricing tools that we have available for you.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. I'm just having a look for anything else that I wanted to have a bit of a talk about before we close up. So let me just have a quick flick through the rest of the questions. There was one about structural calculations with our system. So we've talked a lot about our preliminary design process, but we haven't talked about our detailed design process for construction drawings. Now, we have loads of support from our preliminary design process, but we also have full construction drawings that we can provide through our third-party engineering consultants. So we can help from not only that preliminary standpoint, but all the way through to full construction drawings, SER certification if you're up in Scotland, and building regs and all of that. So we have support there. Just reach out to your local account manager or specification person, and we'll be able to help you through that as a business, which is quite good. But I think that covers off a lot of the questions we've had that have come in. So quite happy with that. I say last thing probably from us will just be to summarize for you and then tie up. I'm sure Alex will touch on our stuff as well. Thank you, Nick. The portal is a good tool. I like it very much. And that summary and what you guys can take away from today really is that there is support right from project conception all the way through to final on-site construction support, whether it is initial sort of design proposals and understanding whether our system works for your site or not, or tender support, making sure that people either see cost savings with our system or can make some extra money, become more profitable, or whether that is getting to site, helping people through the installation through our own sort of partner contractors, or if you're just installing it for the first time and want a little bit of support from your local contact, we provide that as well. So you can see there on the screen the timeline of a site, and you'll see that on every single point of that life cycle for a site, we have support and we can support you along that journey. We're here to help you. We're not here. We're here to provide a solution for you, not just a concrete block and a product. We're providing a solution and overall support for a scheme as well, which is really quite nice. And then Alex, I'll let you tie up. So yeah,
great, lovely. If we can just move that slide on. There we go, lovely. So you may or may not have seen on LinkedIn that we have this retaining wall community on LinkedIn now, which is a group that we have started and begun, and we want to try and make it as engaging and full of great content as we possibly can. And so we're at the beginning of this journey with this retaining wall group on LinkedIn, but we very much invite everybody on the event today or watching the recording later on to please join this retaining wall community. Some of the things or all of the things that we talked about today and all the other content that we maybe haven't touched on, there's so many things that we have available to everybody. This retaining wall group on LinkedIn is a fantastic way for you to see everything and hear about all the upcoming events or projects. And very regularly we get contractors that have installed things and they're very proud of that and they put it in there. And so then people can obviously like, comment, and it's a great retaining wall community that we're obviously hosting for everybody. It doesn't matter whether you are civil, structural engineer, geotechnical, whether you are groundworks contractor, whether you are a house builder. The community on LinkedIn is there for everybody to get involved and see everything that Tobermoor are trying to deliver from a retaining wall perspective, and also gives you a platform to share things and get other people's insights and comments on. So we do ask that you join this. It would be good to increase the size of this community, and we certainly would like to have you join. So that's really it from that side of things. So yeah, do make sure that you have a little look on that group for us. And then finally, when it catches up with us, Yeah, just finally, from me, to be honest, the summary of key points, we could talk about this for hours, me and George. Okay, so we won't continue on this call longer than it needs to. I think actually the summary page that George showed up, the timeline of the support available for us, really kind of touches on those key points for us. Core resources that we've spoken about today, of course, is the TSE if the project is of a relevant size and scale. Even if it's on the slightly smaller end, there is Secure Create on our website, which I know we haven't touched on today, but just worthwhile having a little look at and scan through the website. Secure Create is great for single wall projects. FastFind enables you to download cross sections and certain construction details. And then if you are a contractor looking to price up your project, then the portal is a hugely impactful piece of resource to enable you to very quickly and accurately price up those projects, pass on savings, and increase your margins. Okay, so that is really it. And you can see our content on our contact information, on the screen there. So if you need myself or George for anything in particular, feel free to drop us an email or give us a call. And I think really that is it. We really appreciate everybody jumping on the event today. George, do you have anything else you would like to mention at the end of the session?
No, I think we've covered over a lot, and I'm actually quite impressed that we kept it under the hour, because like you said, we can talk about this for hours. We might like retaining walls too much for what they are, but all good. So no, thanks everybody for their time. We appreciate it. Obviously, like Alex has said, reach out if there's anything any questions we haven't covered over that you have questions about. Reach out to us. We'll provide some support to you. But no, thank you.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Really appreciate it. Hopefully we'll see you on the next live event, and we'll definitely see you in our LinkedIn community group. Thank you all.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Bye-bye.